Welcome to another episode of the Executive Exclusive. I'm your County Executive, Julie Giordano, and with me is Bunky Luffman. And Bunk, we were just talking about this, like it's been a long time since we've been in the studio.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's summer, have a lot going on.
I know, we do. And usually should be our downtime. We're getting ready for things. We have our legislative breakfast coming up, so we're trying to figure out, if legislation's going to happen at the state level. But yeah, it seems like we've been super busy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Bunky was on vacation, and then I had Earl Campbell on the show, and then Bunky was back for one episode, and then I went out of town and I was at the RNC. And I'm going to tell you, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, if you ever get to go to a convention, it is a very, very cool experience. So I was there, obviously, as a Trump delegate, and I just saw on Facebook, with WBOC, that Megan Outen is going to be a delegate for Kamala Harris, so she's going to go out there. And again, regardless of what side you're on, that experience is really cool. Have you ever been to a convention?
No, I have not.
Bunk, I'm going to tell you, our friend, I'm going to give him a shout out here, Don Murphy. I know nobody knows who he is, but hopefully he'll watch the show. He said you would love this experience because you're the same type of Politico that he is. And so I think that if you ever get the chance to go, you really should go. And this was a very cool one to go to.
Yeah,
so.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. You got 4 years to
That's
decide, right? So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. We had a council meeting that was done just a day or two ago, and it was a special session. There was a lot that went down in this council meeting, and so there is a couple of things that we want to talk about because why we were there for the council meeting is a little different than what the comments were about. So I'm going to first start. If you want to tell everybody, why was the council meeting and what was the vote about that they, voted unanimously on?
So they're going to a ballot initiative where they would change the charter, and this was making edits to the original proposal of how to change the charter, taking out sections and taking out things that weren't going to be edited or struck out, but also changing up some of the edits themselves.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. If you look at that charter, one of the things that has puzzled all of us is the removal of the Public Works Director. And we really don't understand why. We still don't really understand why. And I don't think every council member seems to understand that that's what has been struck. So it's interesting, especially when we just, a year or two ago passed the legislation for the Sanitary District. We're really moving forward with that. The Public Works Director is a super important position. So I have no idea why they think we don't need one in Wacomico County, but it has been struck. So if at all, if you think Public Works is important in the infrastructure, we obviously want to vote against this ballot or this charter change because we are losing a really vital position in the county. And I don't really get it, but that's just one of the things that's happening. So any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, so we created a new position through the budgeting process to do the water, wastewater, to do the sanitary district, and that would be under the Public Works Director. So it is an incredibly, having the director and deputy director positions there available are vital.
Well, and one of the things that we talked about too, because Paul has been working on that sanitary district or the sanitary commission legislation, kind of guided by Amanda Pollock as well. As we move forward with that, there's a lot of things that are a council executive decision making. And what our attorney has said is, yeah, there's going to be a lot of legislation that has to change. So it's not just the fact that the charter is changing, is that there's going to be a lot of legislative bills, I guess, that are going to have to change due to the process. So there's a lot more going into this than I think that they've realized. So. Well,
and again, those changes would have to go through the legal department, which is going to cost thousands of dollars.
Right, exactly. So just, another thing to think about. And so they did the vote. They, said that they were going to take out a couple of these sections. Those changes were made. And then we get into the comments. So the first comment was made by Mike Goldberg. So he is a Shadow Hills person. And he's kind of left, I think, the park situation and just likes to attack me in every single thing that I do. But they were talking about this MOU with Eastern Shore Undercover. And there were only 2 comments by audience members or people of the public. So I want to first talk a little bit about this MOU with Eastern Shore Undercover. So when we decided that encryption was the best option for our county, it was done with all of law enforcement on board. There was a couple of municipalities that at first really weren't sold, and then once we got everybody together, it was decided that we would encrypt. Now, the problem with just encrypting everything is that 911 communications are considered public record. We found this out in an Attorney General opinion. So while we are encrypting, we can't just lock the public out infinitely, like indefinitely. Like we have to come up with a policy. And so what I did is that I reached out to our sheriff and to the command staff, and we talked about the fact that while we're getting ready to encrypt, we need to come up with a policy as to when this is going to be made available to the public and also to the media outlets. Do you want to talk a little bit about PIA requirements, like why they're so important, why we have to adhere to them?
So a lot of people call them FOIA. That's actually the Federal Information Act. So in Maryland, we have the Public Information Act, so it's PIA. And it's similar, really similar to FOIA. You would email the government entity, say this is what I want, and then as long as they can retrieve it relatively quickly in a couple hours of work time, then that's free. Once if it becomes a more onerous thing, then there could be a fee involved, and they also have 30 days to get that data to you.
Mm-hmm. So this is not just something that we want to do. It's something that we are required and compelled to do based on the PIA requirements. And so 911 communication is actually public record, and we have not seen anything out there that has changed that opinion at all. There's nothing else that we're going off of. So our concern was, okay, if we're fully encrypted, are we following PIA requirements? Are we being transparent? And there were a lot of rumblings from the community saying, hey, like, we want to know what's going on. Like, why are we not seeing what's going on in the community? And so we directed our county attorney to look at the sheriff's office website, and they do keep a log of the calls that are made. Unfortunately, while that's great, it does not meet the PIA requirements. And so we informed our sheriff's office, hey, look, if we're going to go encrypted, that's totally fine. We understand for officer safety, et cetera, et cetera. We are going to adhere to what all of law enforcement says, but you do need to come up with a policy for when this is going to be made available to the public and to media outlets. And unfortunately, we did not hear anything. And several weeks went by, and without us even realizing it was happening, encryption sort of happened. I think our date was supposed to be July 9th. It happened before that. And so there was kind of like a little bit of chaos going on. And so we needed to figure out a way that we were going to make this the information available to adhere to the PIA requirements and adhere to transparency, because in government, you need to be transparent. And one way that we thought about it was there is a couple of companies that do this. One was called Broadcastify. So Baltimore City uses Broadcastify. And what happened was they went encrypted. They were trying to do it for officer safety. A senator from Baltimore City was not happy with this because they felt that, things were being hidden from the public, and was going to put a bill forward in Annapolis to change it, that you can't be fully encrypted without some sort of policy in place to make sure that this information is available. And they ended up dropping the bill, or not dropping it, getting rid of the bill, because dropping it is literally like putting it in the hopper, but not doing the bill, because Baltimore City purchased a program called Broadcastify, which ends up projecting or, putting out the 911 communication 15 minutes later. And in 15 minutes, that gives the officer time to get there. They're seeing security, et cetera, et cetera. So we were looking at a program with Broadcastify. Can you tell everybody how much Broadcastify was going to cost our county?
$150,000 of taxpayer money.
Right, $150,000. And, it was very frustrating to me, because I understand we have to keep our officers safe. You know as well as I do. I mean, public safety is one of our top concerns, and we want to make sure that our officers are safe 1,000%. But we also have an obligation to the 103,000 citizens here in this county to make sure that we're being transparent and that we're adhering to these requirements. And it kind of dawned on me that we already had a company, a news accredited trademark company that did this very thing. And that is where Eastern Shore Undercover came in. Now, the idea of Eastern Shore Undercover came forward, but we also knew that we had to put it out there for all news media. So we sent it out to, who was it, Bunk? We sent it out to
several different media outlets. I believe both television stations here. I don't remember if we sent it to the one in Rehoboth or not. Newspapers, the normal the normal media outlets.
Right, exactly.
I think Daily Times, Salisbury Independent.
Yep. We sent it out to all of those, WBOC, WMDT, WGMD, like any local news agency, and said, look, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for somebody that you can designate a staff member to kind of listen in, do a delay of about 15 to 30 minutes, put the information out there, no sensitive information, of course, but that way, as long as we're adhering to those PIA requirements. And we sent it out there, and we had 2 media outlets connect back with us. Only one was able to really fulfill all of the obligations, and it ended up being Eastern Shore Undercover. And so we entered into this 1-year MOU, and my thought of the MOU is this is not going to be a forever thing, and we know that. We are waiting for law enforcement to get their policy in order and how this is going to be. I know Worcester County went encrypted, and they're updating their website to make sure that people have access to the information. So that's all we're waiting on. This is just kind of like a placeholder for us to get through this next year, and while law enforcement works on what this policy is going to look like. Can you also explain to the public why are we having law enforcement do the policy and not us?
Well, because they're the experts in the communication, but it's also really important to note, and this gets to a question that maybe you're going to get to later. The second person in the public spoke about, this is not an exclusive contract with Eastern Shore Undercover. If a media outlet today came to us and said, we want to sign the same MOU, the Eastern Shore Undercover, we would say, do you meet the criteria? If you do, absolutely. Because it's not a competition.
Right.
We want as much transparency as possible. It's just, and if there was a media outlet that we missed that you know of, or they're watching right now, email us. We'll send you a copy of the MOU if you want to sign it. As long as you meet the criteria, there isn't an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what made me so frustrated. And I don't necessarily know, I would really hope that the 2 people that stood up and made comments were just making the comments out of sheer ignorance and not out of just trying to be spiteful. So I'm going to try to look at the silver lining. They just didn't know. And so one thing that the first comment Mike Goldberg stated was that it was in real time and we were posting stuff in real time, and that is just not the case. There's a 15 to 30 minute delay, and there might even be a longer delay. Yes. The only time it would be less than 15 minutes is if the scene is completely cleared and the officer is safe, everybody is safe, the scene is secure, and the call has been cleared. But other than that, it's a 15 to 30 minute delay for officer safety and scene security.
Yeah, it could literally be a false alarm.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Someone comes and it's literally a false alarm. Then you wouldn't need to wait 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was a couple of other things that he said. It was exclusive to Eastern Shore Undercover. That is not true at all. It was sent out to all media outlets. And then there was something else, I think, that it was done while somebody was out of town. Well, I don't keep track of people's schedules. I have to do what's best for the county. And there are 123,000 people on Eastern Shore Undercover that I think are really happy that we are adhering to PIA, number one, and number two, that they're going to know what is going on in the community. For example, today we had to close a road because they're putting in a culvert, right? So we get it out there, and how many people do our press releases reach? It meets the media, and if they decide to cover it, fine. But in putting it something like that platform, we're able to reach a lot of people that way. 123,000 people. And so I just, this was not vindictive. This was not trying to go behind anyone's back. There are going to be documents that are made available where it shows where I asked the sheriff to come up and the sheriff's office to come up with a policy. I sent it out to all of the media. I mean, all of these things can be proven right, from email. And so all of that will be made public. You will be able to see it. But so it was just kind of frustrating. And then you had the second person stand up, Miss Monica Brooks, who's the president of the NAACP. And actually something that she said that sort of struck a nerve, which is kind of what you said, is that if there are media outlets, and I don't care, if they're, a black-owned or whatever that case may be, like, if they're not receiving our information, that's a problem to me. Yeah. Like, not just with this, but with all of our information. So, again, like you said, if there are news outlets that you all know of that they're not getting the information from us, this is a huge problem. Yeah. I find it kind of odd that this is the first time we're hearing about it, but be that as it may, please reach out, get added to our list, and then that way you can get our press releases.
My belief is that our office staff uses the same media list that probably every previous county executive has used before us, with maybe an addition or subtraction here or there, based on media landscape, people coming in, people leaving, that kind of thing. So I'd be surprised if we missed anyone, but hey, if we did, then okay, let's rectify it. Let's add them.
Yeah. And then moving on, there wasn't really too many council comments, but there was one made by Councilman Joe Holloway that just really, I just think was almost borderline inappropriate is the wrong word, because I feel like they're inappropriate all the time, but just borderline, I don't even know, slanderous, spiteful, like just hurtful, talking about the fact that the only reason that Eastern Shore Undercover got this MOU is because they made a $3,500 donation to my campaign. And what's really frustrating is that I never got 1 cent from Eastern Shore Undercover while I was campaigning. That we had, while I was campaigning, after I was county executive, we had a business event leaping into a more business-friendly community where those who sponsored had the opportunity to get their name out there and whatever else. So he took advantage of that, along with several other businesses. So it wasn't just Eastern Shore Undercover. It was sponsored by the Evo, they sponsored it. It was sponsored by Pohanka. It was sponsored by Cheers, with Mike Vizard. So there were a lot of people that contributed to this at St. John with St. John's property. So there were a ton of people that support the business community, want to make Wicomico County more business friendly, and contributed. So I just found it really distasteful, I think, on his end. And I find it kind of funny that he's saying this, and there's donations that he's taken from people that are right in that council room. And it's just kind of interesting. I think this will get brought up at the next council meeting, so I'm going to save that little nugget for later. But people just need to be kind of, people who live in glass houses probably shouldn't throw stones. And I don't know what your thoughts are.
Financial disclosures are public information. So, if you've taken, and that's sort of our system. If you're running for office of a certain level, you're going to take donations. And it's sort of, is the constituent buying into your agenda, or the allegation that you would do something for the constituent? I would assume in most cases what's appropriate is a constituent or a donor says, hey, I like this person, I want to win election, I want them to win re-election. And part of Speech Assist United thing is that you can give donations to different people, and virtually every elected official on the county level and up has taken donations. I mean, that's not controversial.
I know, it's so crazy.
If you don't like the system or don't like the donations, then, okay, but that's the system we have. And here's why the system is good and it works, because if you did not have that, then for some of these positions, you would have to be incredibly wealthy to be the governor of Maryland. Mm-hmm. You'd have to be incredibly wealthy in some districts to be a state senator or delegate. Where this system, where you can kind of go around and gain support, and then those supporters, give you $5 donations, like, Senator Bernie Sanders used to talk about, who also got contributions. That's sort of the system we have, and that's the system that works for people who aren't of means, that want to run for office. Yeah. And that's really the only way they're probably going to be able to run for office in our current setup, is they have to go out and get these people to agree with them. Where if we abolished any sort of donation system, then we're just going to sort of an oligarchy model where very wealthy people are running everything. And that's not a good model.
No, not at all. And I totally agree with that. So I was just really disappointed just in him as a person. And, it is what it is. I think, honestly, it speaks more so volumes about those three individuals than it does me. And, I've gotten a lot of reach out from people like, are you okay? I can't believe you said that. And in all honesty, I'm going to be very honest, it doesn't really bother me. It's just so just disheartening and just distasteful. So it is what it is. Like I said, I think it speaks more about him than anything else.
And the other thing, on the other side of the equation, I mean, whether you like them or not, Eastern Shore Undercover is a local business person. I don't know. I've met him several times. I don't really know what his apparatus is like. I don't know if he's hired several people or what it is, but it's still a small business that provides a service to the community. And sort of, even though that that comment was probably pointed more at you than them, that's still pointed at them too. That's also saying that they're involved in some sort of activity that's unsavory, and that's not good either. A council person should not be saying that about the county executive, a fellow elected official, or a local business.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, I just think it's bad for him, and I think that just speaks more so volumes of him than anything else. And then, to kind of shift gears a little bit, but to talk about the ballot question, and I think this has been kind of like the $1 million question, like what is this ballot initiative going to read? And it seems that we have a pretty good idea of what the final question is going to read. And I'm going to go ahead and read it to you guys so you can hear it. And then we'll kind of go forward, and have some discussion about it. So this is what it says. Right now, and we only have till like August 2nd, I think, to get it over there. So it says a revision of the charter of Wacomico County to change from an elected executive form of government to a council form of government in which the county council is vested with both the executive and the legislative functions of government, together with an appointed administrative director to be the chief administrative officer of the county. And to me, if you look at my paper with my notes, you'll see the yellow right here. The biggest thing that stands out is that the county council is vested with both the executive and legislative functions of government. And you and I talked about this. How is that not a power grab? How is that not a power grab?
It's sort of the definition of them taking the power of the executive.
Yeah, exactly. If we were to give an IE, this would be that language right there. What is definition of power grab? Here's the definition. Here's an example. Literally, we're taking both the executive and the legislative functions of government. Here's what concerns me most about it. The council meeting yesterday had 5 members there. One was on the phone. Two didn't show up or whatever. No, it was 4 there. It was right. Who was there? It was 5 of them there, right? Because they had one on the phone, one not there, whatever. They can't even show up to and we're talking, this was a pretty important vote yesterday because it was removing a chunk of what's going on the ballot that is forever supposedly going to be and they couldn't even show up. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, we couldn't even have a full council. And I get it. It's midday. And you want to know why they weren't there? Because they had to work. And that's the whole point, is that you have one of the most important votes coming forward in this county that could forever change our county, and our county council could not show up. I don't know what else to say. And it's the proof is right there. They weren't there. Do you have any sort of comment on that?
I just don't know how you could argue that having 7 inherently part-time people, and I get that there's other counties that may do this, but with jobs and responsibilities, beats having those 7 in place, as well as someone who's elected and accountable to the people, working 7 days a week. I don't understand that's not a good argument. And I do want to also address another thing that I've seen sort of in social media. So first of all, the county council budget is larger than the county executive budget. That's something, of course, the council's not going to tell you. Email, I'll provide it to you. Their budget has also absolutely rapidly increased a lot quicker or a lot more steeply than ours has over the last 3 or 4 years, even predating us, but it continues on going up. So, but the argument I've seen is, let's save the county $800,000 by getting rid of the executive's office. Well, my salary, the deputy administrator's salary, and the county executive's salary makes up 35-40% of that $800,000. And here's the issue. I won't stay on if this ballot initiative, after the 2 years are over. I'm the second lowest paid director of administration in the state. You're probably not going to replace me for my current salary, even though I am happy with my salary. This is not me sort of complaining that I am.
This is Bunky's pitch.
This is not me pitching a higher salary.
Just kidding.
I'm just talking realities. I'm fine with working in the county where I grew up. My family's been here for hundreds of years. There are side benefits that can't be replicated anywhere else. So I'm happy with that. But the reality is, you're probably not finding someone else at my salary to do my job as a appointed administrator, doing day-to-day stuff, in a sense, being my job and the executive's job all in one. You're not going to find that. So that price is going to go up. I would assume the same for the deputy, because generally an administrator has a deputy, because something happens to the administrator, you need somebody running the day-to-day stuff, you know. So, and our county's large enough that we need that now with an executive form of government. And then we also have two other people's salaries that are there. A.K. Kenny and Lisa Taylor. Lisa's literally worked in the executive office since Rick Pollitt was executive. She's worked for every single county executive and the acting county executive. And she does a lot of constituent work. A.K. Kenny does a lot of constituent work. She's been there for several years. I believe Bob brought her on. But together, they do almost all of our constituent work. In fact, they're so good at it. Council members call them to do constituent work. Now, the council has their own staff, but they call members whose salaries are part of the $800,000 that they want to get rid of to do constituent work. So not only would you have to replace me, Matt, and I would assume Lisa and AK, because they want to get rid of the $800,000 according to this argument, that you're not going to replace the institutional knowledge and and how much that Lisa and AK know about this county, know the players. There is no one in this county, or very few people in this county, that know more about tax ditches than AK Kenny.
Right? No, you're right. You're right.
There's very few people who know more about like homestead credit, tax credit, than Lisa Taylor. I mean, they both really have strengths, and they work every day for the citizens of Wicomico County. And when I see that argument of we will save all this money, first of all, it's not true, because all of us would have to be replaced, or maybe they do, try to keep some of us on. Maybe they would try that. But you're still, the central point is you're still not getting rid of $800,000.
Well, no, and my thing is that, and like, just be honest about what you're doing. So it's like, you're saying, well, we could save $800,000. Okay, great. That means that there's no staff there.
Yes.
So you have your one administrator, and so they're not going to have any support. Yeah. There's no secretary. There's no whatever. Who's going to take that job? Yeah. Nobody. Nobody's going to take that job. So you're not saving. And so it's a lie. You're right. You're right. The $800,000 is complete a lie. And what's funny is that we had one council member over in our office who said, "No, we're not getting rid of everybody. We're only getting rid of the executive." Well, no. We explained to him the executive salary is $107,000. That's right. They're claiming they're going to get rid of $800,000 or save it's $800,000. So that's everybody.
That's everybody.
That's everybody. So they are literally peddling this idea that they are eliminating the entire office, everybody that's in it, but yet not all even council members are understanding what exactly is happening. Again, goes to show like no communication whatsoever, with each other.
But it's also why we can't turn our county over solely to the elected county council.
Yeah.
Because again, that's their own piece of legislation, and there are members of the council that don't even that aren't making the same argument.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the other thing that I'm seeing online, which is so interesting, so you all know that we have a 5-2 Republican council. 4 of those Republicans voted to put this on the ballot. So we have one Republican that has said no, and we had one Democrat say no. They don't want to change the form of government. What is so interesting are the groups that have latched on to say, yes, this is a good idea. Now, you all would think because 4 Republicans voted for it that the Republican Club or the Central Committee for the Republican, the Republican Central Committee or Delmarva Conservative Movement or all these other Republican groups out there would have been the ones to latch on. These are what Republicans are saying. Absolutely not true. The progressive liberal groups that are out there in the county are the ones that have kind of grasped this and made it that it would be a good idea. And to me, I'm sorry, there is something underlying with that just does not sit well with me. And we have a conservative executive in office. We have somebody who is a Republican. I just got back from the RNC. and they are trying to abolish, this might be, look, I might sound like a conspiracy theorist, but they are trying to abolish that conservatism out of this county. That's what I feel like. And to me, when you have the most liberal people in our county putting things out that say the liberal initiative is Kamala Harris, Angela Alsobrooks, vote for abortion in the Constitution, and vote to get rid of the CE in Wacomico County, like, that's frightening to me. Like, that is, part of that. So it's just really interesting that 4 Republicans voted for it, but yet it's become a liberal progressive initiative for the county. And what's so ironic is that they're backing Angela Alsobrooks, who was a county executive,
Yes.
or is a county executive, who's going to be a senator. So we support her and her initiative moving forward, but we're trying to get rid of the other county executive in the county. And I don't know if my political party has if that's the reason. I have no idea. But we might sound a little conspiracy theory-ish, but it's hard to say it when they're putting it out there like that. So any thoughts?
Well, it's really difficult to say you're backing a county executive for U.S. Senate in recognition of what they would tout as her admirable qualities as a leader, as county executive. So you're saying that, but then you're saying, but we don't need a county executive.
Right.
It's incoherent messaging, and it just shows you that this ballot initiative is not public policy driven. This ballot initiative is personality and politically driven, and inappropriately politically driven. But also, it's personality too. But on the good hand, there are people, like one of my relatives, for example, that will say, county executive, I didn't vote for you, but I'm voting to keep it.
Yeah. Well, and I've had a lot of people reach out. I've had a lot of Democrats, call me and say, look, we didn't vote for you. I don't know if I vote for you again or, in the future, but like we want the ability to be able to vote. And we've talked about that. Yeah. And so I am telling everybody on the show, and I'm going to be saying it from now until November, do not let the county council cancel your vote. And that's exactly what's happening. They want control. You read it, right? I mean, they didn't even hide it. I mean, it's right in their ballot question that the county council is vested with both the executive and the legislative functions of government. And again, we're talking about an entity that couldn't show up to their own meeting. We're talking about an entity that doesn't even share information with one another, but they're going to run the county. It's quite scary. Plus, we have a group of individuals that are on the complete opposite sides of the political aisle, and they're kind of grasping this as, as a good idea. And it's crazy to me, but it is what it is. We obviously we are going to be, continually talking about the ballot initiative, where we are with it. I don't want anybody to think that we are not working, behind the scenes to try to see like how we're going to fight this. And we are. We're coming with a great campaign. We are coming out in full force, actually starting tomorrow. So we have a really good plan of action, and I want everybody to understand that this is not just an attack on Wacomico County. This is an attack, across the state, and people are not liking it. They're not liking it. I have had people reach out to me from Harford County, Howard County, Baltimore County, like what in the heck is going on in your county? So this is something that hasn't really left a good taste in the mouths of anybody across the state. People are viewing this as kind of an abuse of power. They're using it where, if the council was wanting to do this, there should have been a straw poll. There could have been, signatures. There's other ways of going about it. And using that inherent power to do this, I think is just, again, speaks volumes for them and their character. So anyway, sorry, go ahead.
And I just do really want to be clear. So because I sort of have a dual role where you're elected, when I go and I talk about this initiative and sort of politics, I take off work. So
yes,
so
you do.
I do not commingle my day-to-day activities, which are 100% for the taxpayers, with any sort of politics. But I just really want to make that clear.
Yeah, no, and you do a great job balancing it, because I can't imagine, honestly, I think I'm given a little bit more leeway as an elected official, you being, kind of hired by the county, you kind of have a little bit more red tape, that you have to follow, and you do that, and I apologize too for kind of, talking about it, but it's just infuriating because, this initiative is affecting so many lives and so many people, and so again, we just have it coming at us at all angles, but we are going to be okay, and we are fighting it, so it will be okay. family. I do want to end on a really, really good note. So today I will be going out to the fields over for West Side Little League, or West Salisbury, not West Side, but they are on the West Side, but West Salisbury Little League. And it's very exciting because they just won the state championship. And they are leaving tomorrow to go to Bristol, Connecticut, and play in the Mid-Atlantic tournament. So it's very exciting for them. So congrats to them, and congrats to Coach Bill Atkinson for just coming in and just being there for those boys. And I do want to give a big shout out to the parents, because being a parent of a kid of any sort of travel ball, you are dedicated. You are dedicated with your time and your money, and sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I'm out here in this heat watching my kid. But I know, and I don't want to speak for every parent, but me as a parent, there's no better place that we'd rather be than seeing our kids and seeing them, especially go all the way and win this state championship. And we hadn't had a state championship in a long time in Wicomico County, so this is awesome. I don't know if ever. I don't know. I can't remember if they said that they had or not. Either way, we are super pumped for them. And like I said, we'll be going out and celebrating them. So again, congratulations to West Salisbury for the amazing job, and to Coach Bill for, just coaching them all the way through. So, all right, Bunk, is there anything else that you want to comment on? Anything else that anybody needs to know?
I don't think so.
No? Were you wrapping it up? Okay. Again, really quick, this was supposed to be our downtime, but they keep us very busy here. And we are preparing for our legislative session. If there are things out there, if there's state law out there that's hurting you, hurting your business, hurting your family, please come and see us and let us know. This is the time for us to really figure out the direction that we're going to go when session starts. Wait, one big thing. Congratulations to Delegate Carl Anderton. How did we not bring this up? Delegate Carl Anderton has accepted a job with the governor. I do want to tell you, if I take my county executive hat off really quick and put on my central committee hat, we are going to be interviewing for his position on Monday, August 5th. We've had a lot of great applicants, so we'll be looking forward to his replacement. Sad but exciting time for him. And like I told you, I think we've seen him more now than we did when he was a delegate. Not that he was absent, but he's with us all the time, So he's done a great job, really hit the ground running. Him and Kendall are such a great team. So we look forward to continuing working with them and potentially working with a new delegate. Yeah. So that's exciting. So that's all the time we have for today. And so we will catch you next time on the next episode of the Executive Exclusive. Have a great day, everybody.